back. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
Welcome back to the program. In studio with me is Dr. Paul Zickler from YesWellness, and we're talking about your health and your lifestyle. There'll be a lot of lifestyle inclusion in this conversation. Dr. Zickler, after 18 years in the emergency department at Royal Columbian Hospital, you decided to move on and ended up today with an outfit called YesWellness. Connect those dots, if you would, please. What did you do when you left the emergency department at Royal Columbian and decided to, well, seek a new path, having begun to develop an appreciation for alternatives or complementary medicine? Again, looking at the bigger picture for maybe the first time.
Well, yes, Sterling, it was convoluted. After the emergency department, there was the walk-in clinics and then the sort of the online exposure in terms of the pharmaceuticals, and it is through that process with my growing interest in complementary medicine that I started going to more functional and integrative and holistic medical conferences.
So you had started a chain of walk-in clinics around Metro Vancouver?
In Surrey and Langley.
Okay.
So that was my step out of the emergency department.
Right. Okay.
And so from those clinics, I sort of got, after probably 12 years in those clinics, I got a little bit frustrated in terms of how medicine was being and how effective I was being in my medical treatment.
Okay.
That I started looking in terms of other avenues of expression. So that led to an online pharmacy company. And then during that time, with my interest in alternative medicine and gaining knowledge of online businesses, that's where I started looking at of how I can incorporate my growing interest in complementary medicine to becoming effective in terms of educating the public on wellness, as well as providing them with products that would help them in their path, and that's why YesWellness.com was born.
Okay.
And what we try to do is our main function is to educate people on how to attain their wellness.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of our blogs and information on the site is directly in that direction.
This would be YesWellness.com.
Yes.
Okay.
And then and in support of that, providing the products that would help them in that path and make sure that the products that were available were of the best quality, so that people weren't concerned in terms of the quality of their medications.
Is this what you mean when you start talking about people getting or becoming wellness oriented?
Well, the education part is the biggest portion.
Okay.
I mean, the supplements, nutraceuticals, are an additive portion to that. That by itself does not make them well.
Right.
It's the whole process of realizing that YesWellness incorporates those features we chatted about a little while ago.
Sure.
But making that decision to act on it and to actually empower themselves to do it.
Okay. And is there, I'm just trying to think, because our attitudes are changing. For example, we boomers, this is Boomer Life, Doc, and we boomers have, we've come to terms with A, aging. We're not happy about it, but we're coming to terms with it. And B, I think most importantly, we're trying to come to terms with the fact that our life expectancy is considerably greater than our parents, and certainly than our grandparents. And so if we're going to stick around unexpectedly longer perhaps than we had planned originally, well, then we kind of want to be able to be in a good enough shape to have fun while we're sticking around.
Yeah, and you stress several important aspects, Sterling, that I'll just sort of rephrase. And one of them, as we chatted privately, is that I'm a baby boomer. And, when I got to be around 60, I had already planned to be retiring, in quotation mark, meaning that I was going to leave practice and go traveling and spend more time at home and basically go for walks every day and read the paper and all the magazines I've ever wanted to read. But then after we sort of got into that, it wasn't fulfilling, and also it was sort of stagnating. And I remember going through a period of 5 years of listening to those people that I knew that retired, and they were telling me all the benefits of all the things that they were enjoying and doing and how great it was. And then as listening to these folks over here, they were being involved in other things, and it may not necessarily be work,
right,
but things that perhaps were hobbies that they took another form,
or volunteering, sure,
yeah. But engaging their brains.
Yes.
And part of that engagement is looking differently at your health. And certainly it's never too late to engage yourself in wellness. And so, even though I was 60, 65, there's no reason I can't choose a good lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason I shouldn't be very interested in my nutrition and the benefits of being nutrition wise in terms of my health and my brain health, to seek a lifestyle with exercise in it. And so, yeah, I may not do a marathon or a half marathon or a 10-kilometer jog, but I'm going to be doing something that's going to be actively using my body and continuing to use it. And that may be a 30-minute walk every day.
Sure.
And it doesn't matter sort of what sort of ability you have or what sort of disability you have. Regardless of where you're at, there's always something you can do to make yourself more active.
Right.
And then the stress level. And so, even when we're retired, there are stresses.
Mm-hmm.
The family stress, the kids, the grandkids, sort of feeling out of sorts, especially men. Their sort of social group has diminished, and they're sort of isolated. Continual growth in community, where you make sure that you're involved. You have a ukulele club where you start playing ukulele.
That's right. You've spent some time in Langley,
right,
haven't you?
Exactly. So
I forgot about those guys.
It's really those are the kinds of things that if you look at it and say, I'm very capable of doing that, as opposed to, God, I'm 70. I can't do that.
Well, I was going to ask you, because you've seen so much, and you see so many different types of people. I'm wondering, do some people, when they approach retirement age, use that as an excuse to sort of check out? Well, I'm done. My work career is over. I don't have to report to anybody anymore, so I'm not going to. I'm not available. I'll see you when I feel like it. And until then, I'm just out of here.
Yeah, and so, there's certainly those that will continue. So by this time, that individual probably is on 3 different medications, one for his cholesterol, one for his blood pressure, one for his diabetes. He's overweight. He's got arthritis. He's got sore joints. And he's going to slowly fade away in a painful fashion. And his risk of a stroke or heart attack is probably 30% higher than his peers that are not in that same boat.
Right.
And so he's got, that's his outlook, and that's what he's going to suffer through.
Right. But you've seen this model in the past, haven't you, where people use the age of retirement as an excuse to just stop doing most everything.
Right. But what we have to impress upon even that person with what we just described can change it.
Sure.
And make himself healthier. But it's pretty hard if he's lived a life all that time and the way he has to all of a sudden think he's going to make a dramatic change in the last 2 decades of his life. And that's the hurdle that he has to get over. So if we have a group of seniors that are sort of interested, there's still plenty of time to make the changes that is going to increase the quality of life that you're going to have over the next few decades.
It's never too late.
Exactly. And that's really what's important. And I want to bring this back to just my own, it's a personal story. and I stay active. I go to the gym. I do cardiovascular, healthy cardiovascular workouts, and I stay fit. But part of our aging is, and I've talked to many physiotherapists, and we've never got a label on it. But for example, we went to San Diego to my son's wedding, and we were going to play frisbee. And yeah, I love playing frisbee.
Sure.
But I haven't played frisbee for years.
So you're going to stretch something.
Well, no, it's not the injury, which is possible, but getting out there and I threw the frisbee, and then I got it thrown back, and I had to run.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't remember.
It doesn't always flow in a straight line, does it?
How do I run? It's that sort of that, and if you succumb to that, and well, I can't do that anymore. Well, as it turns out, I made myself run, and after 20 minutes, it was a lot easier to run.
Sure.
The next day we played again, it was much better. And so it's like even though I've on the treadmill, I cycle. That act of running and concentrating on the frisbee, trying to run over obstacles and getting the frisbee required a whole new set of parameters that I wasn't used to using. And so it just shows you that with exposure and use, you'll get it back. I mean, I didn't run as fast as I did when I was 25.
Well, of course.
Or jump as high. But I could, by the end of the day, I could actually run and throw a frisbee in a very quite normal way.
Well, you see, now where you would go and do the thing with the frisbee, I would get on a pair of skis. But it's the same thing.
Same thing.
It's the act of being so involved in an activity that you forget about everything else. And because if you don't, you're going to fall down and hurt yourself or trip over something or whatever, or miss the catch in your case. Yeah. So you don't want to do that. But what I'm getting to here is, at the end of that day, whether I've been pounding out runs on the mountain or you've been chasing a frisbee in the park, we're tired. Yeah. And the stress level, because of focusing so intensely on one activity, we've forgotten about all of the other stuff that bugs us in our lives, even if just for a few minutes. That's an enormous advantage, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, once you feel better that way, you're going to you're probably starting to get more in tune into what makes your body feel better in terms of what you're eating and how you're living and what you're doing for activities, because you're starting to listen to your body. And I think that's another sort of telling point when people are getting to be more interested in their wellness, is because they start to listen to some of the feedback which they haven't been paying attention to.
So give me an example.
Well, for example, I've been feeling pretty good because I've been eating a lot more vegetables. I've done some exercise. I've cut down on some of the grains I've eating. I've reduced some of the sugary desserts that I've been eating. I've been making more wise decisions, and I get to be feeling relatively good. I've got some energy. I don't feel as tired. I can stay awake in the afternoon without falling asleep. I don't eat dinner and fall asleep in the evenings. I feel like I can read and do things. If you start paying attention to why am I feeling better today? And then you go out and you have a big pasta dish, and followed by a tiramisu cake, and maybe a special coffee, a B52 coffee.
Oh, geez, you're talking my language here.
And then you come home.
That's a good night out for me.
and then you wonder why you come home and you're dragging your feet.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And then the next day you're dragging your feet.
And you don't feel like going for that jog that you really have to do today after that meal last night.
That's right. You're less likely to go out and do that. You'll just sit and sort of say, okay, well, I'll just relax and have that little snooze.
So now you're talking about something that really, we're going to need to take a break here, but you're talking about motivation. You're talking about the individual's drive to better his or her well-being, and all the doctor's instructions in the world can't compensate for the fact that you have to want to do something, right?
Exactly.
All right, we'll take a break here, and we'll come back with Dr. Paul Zickler in studio from Yes Wellness, and we're talking health and lifestyle on this episode of Boomer Life, and we'll be right back.
Canada's only weekly radio show dedicated to the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.